So we've got an A45 AMG to go on the dyno. This has been tuned somewhere before, and we've just done a quick run to see where we're going to be with it, and we are currently here. First time I've had one of these on the channel, so it'll be quite interesting to see. So this one isn't a stock car. This one actually comes with a hybrid turbo. They've fitted a hybrid turbo from Litco, the Litco 600 I think they call it. And I've actually had it tuned somewhere before on this turbo, but they're not quite happy with it. So they brought it in for me to have a look at and see if we could do anything with it to make it a bit more fun. They don't think it's anywhere near what power they thought it would be. This might be a few part video. I'm not quite sure because I haven't done one of these on a hybrid turbo yet, so it's quite interesting to see. So I'm just going to do the first pull. I'm going to get bFlash out, I'm going to log it, just like a general basic log, just to see what the car's doing as it is, and then we'll go into it and see like how to tune it. Now the issue with these cars is you do have to flash them on the bench. So I've got to take the ECU out for every single change. So they're a bit of a ball ache, but we'll see how we get on. So let's go. It's actually a hybrid turbo ECU, so that's the bit I'm going to be tuning. Then you've no, it's all right. You don't want to get that too hot anyway. They've got an intake, so we're running a stock intake, a hybrid turbo Litco 620 with a looks like a custom downpipe. So that'd be quite cool. So first things first, we need to take that ECU out. Not too hard on these. So unclip these, remove these little bolts. There's 1, 2, 3 bolts. There's obviously one missing. And then whip that out, and then we'll bench it. So bFlash, and this is the bench cable that they supply. So it's going to hook that up to the laptop and get the pin out. Now the problem is the pins on these are like really small. I don't know if you can see those. So I'm going to use some little pins because these aren't quite small enough to grip onto them. So I'm going to use some smaller pins just to plug onto the actual 3 that we need to get onto on there so that we can carry on. And these are those. So we'll use these. I've got these from Chip Tuning Shop from Aftab. Brilliant things. Use them all the time. So bFlash give you everything you need to do these. What am I on now? So flash. I'm gonna flick out of this. I've got to flick over to bench. So Mercedes MG1 bench. So I was an OBD for the actual login. I think you can log from bench anyway, but I don't. So it gives you the pin out that you've got to use. So it's just the one block. So it's obviously that way around. And it's that block. So we just follow the procedure. Black on there. I always put these 2 wires on first. You got your positive and negative on there, and then I switch to these for the others. So we've got red. These pins are so delicate. Grey. And yeah, make sure your pins are on. And what I do then is there's some of these with bFlash are like the perfect size for these. So red, yellow and grey. So it always helps to use the same colours because it saves you tracing which one's which. So that's that done. So I'm going to get a read. Obviously this is going to give me an actual read, so that means I'm all connected. So unfortunately I'm going to have whatever tune is on it as well. So call that Merc bench read. I think you've had a read. So that has been successfully read. I'll actually send that to bFlash now and see if we can unlock it for OBD, so I don't have to keep doing that for every single change. So, current situation, ECU back in. Done some back and forward with bFlash, and we're now going to flash this via the OBD, so that's going to save us a lot of time. So thank you bFlash for that. So we are now in a much happier place. Let's get to the dyno. There we go. So currently stock on the ECU. We've managed to get a bench read of it, send that over to bFlash, a bit of backwards and forwards, and now we're able to work with the car via OBD. So I've already flashed the car, as you can see, so it's stock now. So we've managed to get a virtual read, stock it, open up that OBD port, so it enables us to not have to take the ECU out for every single change, which is going to obviously speed up the process. If I had to do this for every single, to bench it for every single one, I've been here all week. Like, it takes ages, because when you take the ECU out, the car's cooling down and everything else, so you can put the ECU back in again, then you got to warm the car back up again, then you got to go again, and it just takes way too long. Whereas with the OBD, it's quite straightforward, in, done, gone. That's where we was, so I'm going to save that. So Merc A45s, fill, run 1 as is. Now I've obviously got an engine management light for, I guess it's going to be the GPF, which we can check with bFlash. If I was to go to the diag, have a read. So we'll lock the same again, just to give us some repeatable, but I'm going to need more when it comes to actually tuning this car. The stock file I've already banged into WinHoles, and I've just put a Stage X map pack over the top, just to give me a bit of a starter to obviously build the tune for this one. I've not started building the tune yet, I'm going to have to do that in a minute. So load, background, guess it's going to limp. I can't remember if these limp or not for the GPF. Guess we're about to find out. So A45, so this was the run that it was on. I'm guessing it's going to be a lot less, because obviously before it had some sort of tune on. So flick that to that, knock off the ESP. You've got to hold the ESP button, so it's off, manual, exhaust open, and then here we go. Switch the logger on, back into 5th gear. I've not touched the dyno since, so still same settings. 5th gear. Mercedes, just measuring the losses. I'm going to put my seatbelt on as well, that noise is annoying. So currently at 460 brake, so we didn't really make that much between the two, so you're talking like 60 brake. They're made by bolting that turbo on, so it's not great, so we'll see what we can do. Now I've not done a stage 3 on one of these yet, so it is a bit of a learning thing for me too. So we'll open up and see where we are on the stock. I always like to start from stock really, so you know kind of where you are. So obviously that turbo is a bit bigger than the other one, and then the stock one, so it's going to run a little bit more than you would. Throttle's flat out. Timing 12 degrees, 13 degrees, so they obviously didn't touch the timing. Relative, we've got boost, was it like 3.5 last time? So now we're at just at 2 bar, just under 2 bar. Just actually look a little bit more, I'd say a little bit more aggressive than how it was set on the other tune. Fuel rail 20 as we thought, it was like that before, so that's pretty much the same. Engine torque 502. That's higher than before. Wastegate, quite nice now. It's actually running a little bit better stock than what it was with the tune on, but is that just because it has pushed a little bit harder, or everything seems smoother? Ignition angle was the same. Knock, any knock going on? Nope. Okay, so on that note, what lambda we're seeing a little bit leaner. That's okay, because we are actually running a little bit less boost than before. These cars, it's like you get like a build up a boost, then all the boosts. It's a bit weird. It's like, it feels like something's holding it back here, like the wastegate's how it's set. You see the wastegate kind of creeps in. Might be worth having a look at that, see if we can make it go more like, you know, a bit more fun. four-wheel drive, not really any issues with traction. We'll have a look. So I'm going to build the tune, or build a base to start from, and then we'll come back in 2 secs. Right, so we are back. So I'm all set up on the dyno, ready to do this Mercedes A45 again. Luckily, I've been doing, well, I've spent a few days on this now. I've kind of like jumped a little bit out of the video because it's a bit of a pain to set up. I didn't want the video to be like really long of me just messing around with it. So what I've done now is I benched the ECU, and with bFlash's help we've managed to unlock the ECU for OBD. So what was a 5-day job has now turned into a couple of day job. So that is a bonus. Next, I'll show you the logs of where I was and where I am now. So initially this car came in tuned supposedly for this turbo, so it was meant to be pretty much good to go. Whereas if we look at the logs, this car's taken about 4 wastegates since this turbo's been fitted. So that was one of the reasons why I had this car in. See if I can figure it out. So this is all the logs I've done since I set this car up. The initial logs look like this. So at your RPM, you got like an overboost cam changeover point, which is what that point is there. Let me just get this down a bit. And the boost was really quite laggy and boring. So it come in at like 2.8. This is okay, but it come in really low. So we got 1.2 bar, and it was like a gradual increase up until around 6, 7, and then what we had was a throttle closure and the wastegate was all over the place. So if I just show you the throttle, you can see it. Can't really see it on there. Wastegate. So you can see it better on the wastegate. So the wastegate was opening and closing rapidly by itself. And I think this might be part of the reason why we've had the wastegate failures, because that wastegate's been all over the place. I don't think it's liked it. It's put a lot of strain on the wastegate, so possibly why it's taken a few wastegates. So when I was tuning it, I was getting the same problem. So I did the boost a lot different. Let's just show you one of the early logs. Same again, RPM in the middle. And then we'll go to the turbo. And what I was finding is it's top end. So as you're putting more boost at the top, it didn't like it as you got to about 6k. And it was opening and shutting the wastegate loads. So I spent quite a long time setting the boost up to try and make as much power as I could without it doing this to potentially break more wastegates. So obviously I didn't want to do that. So currently, so as you can imagine, the boost is very different to how I set it up now to how it was, because I've aimed for the early RPM, so anywhere between 2k to about 5k, 6k. I want the power, and then the top end I just taper off. I'm not too, not too bothered about that. I was replacing it with a lot of ignition timing. So if you look at where we are now, so where we was really lagging with the boost, I'm now smashing it in. So it's doing exactly what I'm asking it to do. So the boost level now is like 1.4 bar. Sorry, 2.4 bar. I'd ramp it in and then taper it off, and then I don't get that issue with the wastegate. Then it seems to be a lot happier here, because one of the main problems I think is we're pretty much running stock hardware on a hybrid turbo. So I'm not quite sure if it's surging at the top end or what it's doing, but I had to play around with the PID. I've done all sorts with the boost to try and stop it from doing it, and the only way I could do it was to ramp it in and taper it off, which is still okay. I've replaced it with timing and things as well, just to see where we are. Now you do have to run a lot of boost on these cars to make the power, but that torque difference will be massive. If we just open up the compare between how the car was to how it is now with the boost. So boost how it was. So the yellow line was the boost how it was, and the red line, blue line is the boost how it is now. So this part here where we was getting that problem with the wastegate opening and closing, I've tapered it out of that area, and I don't get that problem anymore. So, but I've built up the power where it matters here. So the torque is about 120 newton meters difference between the two. I'll overlay the graphs, and that is where we currently are. So now all I've got left, if I just open up the tune, so there's lots of tables in these to do with load and all sorts. I don't want to go too deep into it, but I've been using the maximum turbo tables to actually control the boost and set it up. I've added pops and bangs, some safety. Just got to test the pops and bangs. I've added quite a few pops and bangs. I'm trying to do it on the sport button, so we'll see how that goes. So all I've got left to do is flash that on. Now that I can flash by OBD, it saved me a lot of time. So thank you bFlash for that. We'll get that flashed on, get a couple more runs out of it, then I'm pretty much done. The problem I was going to have, which is why I bought the car in for a week, is bench flashing takes ages. So I've got to start, take the ECU out, put it on the bench, clean out, flash to the ECU, put the ECU back on again, get the car warm again, and then run it, and then make the changes, do it all that process over and over again. So thankfully, thanks to bFlash, I managed to flash with the OBD. It takes 45 seconds. I've been bouncing between loggers. I've been using my own logger to set up the pin and everything else. I've been using bFlash as like a general look over. If I've seen any issues with the bFlash, then I go back and do another run on my logger. Just for speed, basically. I don't have to keep changing wires. So I actually opened my own template, and away we go. So I'm logging. So I'm logging basically boost pressure, wastegate position, boost set point. Don't worry about that one. Load, math, torque, lambda, 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 fuel pressure, not correction, ignition advanced, ignition overall, intake air temp, engine RPM obviously, throttle position, boost PID for the I was using that, but I needed the P and D, so I kind of switched to the other one. Map values, VVT and EVVT, so we've got intake and exhaust. So it varies massively with heat because it's such a big turbo. You've got to really get the heat in to get the power out of it. So that's a 494 pull. We just left it overnight to run again, so I'll do another pull. So one thing I really found with this car is it doesn't like ignition timing. So I'm pretty much stuck on the natural ignition timing itself. I tried adding a few degrees, didn't like it. So fuels will be really good for this car. As you can see, all my ignition timing is pretty much stuck. I've not really gone too mad because it hasn't really got the hardware to support that turbo. So I'm not really, don't want to go mad. I just wanted to get to the point where it's drivable, it's repeatable. So we've got loads on the table. If the guy wanted to go away and put some more hardware, like the intake needs doing, what else can we do with this car? Possibly run different fuels to see what we can make out the car itself. Because at the minute we pretty much made all the torque on boost and not so much of anything else. So I think that's about it. Like it's kind of like a stage 2.7 car. Like it's pretty much a stock car with a hybrid turbo on it, so you can't really go too mad with it. So I think I'm going to call it a day there. I'll source it up. It doesn't do this stupid thing with the boost. The wastegate should stay intact. It's fast. I've made as much torque as I could down low. I had to get the final graph up. I've done loads of runs playing with this car, so I got to about 540 brake. So that was when I backed it off, playing with it. So I still had a little bit more revs to go as well. I can't remember my side there, but 537 HP, 640 Newton meters was where I left it on them settings. Added time in it, pull power, changed the boost, didn't like it up top. So there's still more playing to do with this car, but I'd like to see a little bit more hardware first, and then we can probably get up near that I reckon to meet the 600 brake that the turbo is apparently designed for, we would need something different with the fuel, maybe E85 or something like that, just to get it up there. Because I don't think it's going to do it on boost alone, judging that I'm on 2.4, 2.5 bar to make that kind of power. I know 2.4 bar will do about 550 if I hold it out at a red line, but I need the intake in that just to get more air and stop the turbo from surging. So that's where we are. So we'll get this off the dyno, we'll send the lads out for a test run, and I want to show you something exciting with the next car we're going to be looking at. So the next car we're going to be working on is going to be this Audi RS6. So it looks pretty standard, but VAG Technics have dropped me this car off the tune because we're currently running 2 TT1000 turbos, Porsche injectors, meth, it's fully built engine, so we get to have a lot of fun with this. This might be a couple of parts to this video, but we'll try our best to try and get as much information in as we possibly can. I will probably be live tuning this car as well, so there'll be a lot of techie stuff in this video. I know I'll be doing this one before obviously we're doing the Caddy, because the Caddy's going to come to it next. That's pretty much all finished now, ready to go on. We've got some exciting bits on that as well. So that's what's going to come. So please like, subscribe, follow the channel. It all helps us like build the channel up and everything else. And if you've got any ideas, drop them in the comments box and we'll be sure to read them and add them to the videos. Cheers guys.